Hello, everyone. Thank you again so much for joining us again. My name is LaShondra Robinson, the Executive Director of the wonderful organization called UCAN of Memphis, where our purpose is upon leadership development as well as leadership development and character building for our middle schoolers in regards to bullying prevention. So today is a little bit different. We wanted to talk about homeschooling. Now, we know with the COVID virus that has hit us, things have definitely changed in our educational learning. Now, parents truly have some options on whether or not they want to continue homeschooling their child, or if they want to put them back in a brick and mortar where they're going to have someone else educating their child, whether it's private school, public school, Catholic school, ASD, Green Dot, it doesn't matter. Will you make that choice to actually homeschool your child, or will you go ahead and put your child into the traditional learning? Now, I know that our school system is definitely thinking about how to do either some type of dual enrollment for that student, or they're going to go straight into online learning. Now, that is going to be a challenge for a lot of students, only because some students may not have internet access, some may not have computer systems, or sometimes the parents may not even have the option or the time to actually do that. But we have two great parents online today that's going to talk about what it is with homeschooling. Why did they actually decide to do homeschooling? How does it feel to homeschool your child? What did the child even think about being homeschooled? But most importantly, what are the pros and cons? What is the difference? Things that's going to help a parent to make a decision moving forward. Because right now, we're in a decision-making process, and we want to make sure that we give you the right resources to do the right thing in making those decisions. So these are just some options, and our parents are here to talk about their experience and their pros and cons of it. So if you give me the opportunity to welcome along Miss Angie Steele and Miss Mary Dugan. Hello, guys.
Hey, LaShondra.
Hey, LaShondra.
So if everyone knows, Mary Dugan is also one of our board members, and she had a story that actually she had to end up taking her child out of school and make a decision to do homeschooling. And Angie was the one to help guide her through this direction. So I'm so grateful to have both of them online, just to kind of give, like I said, some insights, some pros and cons on some things that could happen for your child, what are some challenges and things like that. So without further ado, I've done enough talking. I'm about to go into the interview process. I'm about to ask them some questions. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. So we haven't really had two people online with us before, so this is going to be interesting, but I'm excited because I know they are responsible enough and they know how to handle this. So we're going to go with the first question. What made you want to homeschool your child?
Mary, you going first?
I want you to go first, Angie.
Okay, well, hopefully, I have a two-part question. One, I have is she 19? A 19-year-old who will be 20 this year. And my job, I'm in the hair profession, and I just remember just going with her, and she would be with me, and we would miss a lot of birthdays on Saturdays, and we would, be too tired after, 6 o'clock, and I'm having to go back to work at night and doing hair, and it would just be late, but we would be doing homework at the salon. And so with my 9-year-old, I decided that I wanted to take his life and my life back. I had originally came up with the idea to homeschool him when he was in the kindergarten. I just noticed that traditional school was just not for him. We did try the private school sector, and it was just a little different. My child has a gluten intolerance, so the lunches didn't work well with him. And he is a very bright kid. And so he just needed extra things to do. I did notice a lot of bullying from teachers as well as students. And I'm not saying that my son is a saint, but what I wanted to do is go back to a different lifestyle from what I saw my grandmother and my mother had given us. We grew up around family, And what we learned at the house, I learned how to cook by watching. I learned how to, make a home. I learned so many things, how to fix things and how to do things. And I just decided, wait a minute, there's a different path that I could really put my son on. So let me see if that will work for me. And with this being our first year, we're almost at the end. My child is he's solving for X, and that is what, an 8th or 9th grade, math task. I'm excited to say that I'm so happy that I've gotten out of the first 2 months of being nervous and not being acclimated to this untraditional plan, that it has worked for us. So those are the reasons. One, because my child did require a different path. And then 2, I wanted to take my life back and his life and turn it around to where we could really be a family.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, I love that. Yes.
Mary, did you want to chime in on it?
Yeah, so the reason that I wanted to homeschool my son is he is a 13-year-old. He is in middle school, and his current school wasn't handling an issue, or some issues rather, that they were not handling them as seriously as I wanted them to handle them. And I wanted to make it aware to them how important it is for my son, who's just not a number, but he is a person who needed to be skilled on certain things. I didn't see that happening in the school system. Some of the issues that I did present to them, they were not forthcoming with answers that even other people who were in the system, the school system, stated they should have handled it in a different way. With that in mind, I had always wanted to be a parent who was homeschooling because I only have one child, and I had my child when I was 40. So I've always wanted to be at home with my child. I worked with the school system for 10 years, and once I got out, I noticed some things that my son was not grasping as well. And so of course, I blamed it on myself at first. And then once this issue happened, spoke with you, LaShonda, and asked you if you knew anybody who was homeschooling because I had not heard of it. I reached out to Angie, who was just a godsend, and I think I've told her that 1,001 times, but she really was. She did not sugarcoat anything to me. She told me exactly how it would be. 3 weeks later, we're doing well. We started homeschooling actually when right after spring break. And that's when COVID had started right after that. So it was perfect timing pretty much. I love it. The biggest thing about homeschooling that I love is that, just like Angie stated, you do get a chance to teach your children things that you want them to learn. That's going to be something they're going to need in the future, but it's not as rigorous as a curriculum that someone else is pushing for your child.
I love it. And just like you said, when the pandemic hit, it was something that parents had to make a decision on, and they had to learn how to homeschool their child, and safety is first. And a lot
Yes.
of the district was talking about how health and safety was their priorities, and you guys are really taking upon yourself to really make that decision. And Angie, for you beforehand, you made that decision because you knew for yourself that your child needs to be in a safe environment. And with that being said, you made that decision to do what you needed to do to make sure that your child was going to be safe. So I definitely commend you for that. So my next question would be, what challenges did you face when you took your child from a traditional school? So what challenges did you guys face when you took them out of the traditional school?
Well, first of all, the first challenge that I encountered was people saying, oh, he's not going to be sociable. And that is one of the biggest lies ever. My son plays recreational soccer in our community. My son, we will find field trips to do online with other homeschool children. My son has a neighborhood where he still can go out and play with other kids. My son has cousins. And then we make, if you, the parent, and the siblings and people are talking to your child, that is still causing them to be social. So don't believe the hype on that. And the second thing I would like to say is unschooling. Oh my gosh, children go to school from 7:30 to 3:30. I'm not sure what the hours are anymore. But you're thinking you're doing something wrong because you're still in the bed at 8 o'clock. No, school is when I say school is. As long as we're getting that curriculum done, So what I've done is kind of, I won't say fast track my child, but what I've done is condensed it down and we do more work. So it gives me a break, but we come back at it. I test as often as I need to make sure he has grasps, especially math and writing. I make sure that he may get more testing than they would in a traditional school.
Mm-hmm.
So the pros and cons is you do it when you do it, not when you have to do it because you have 30 kids to one classroom. That one-on-one time. Oh, you said the cons. Did you say pros too?
Just
I love it.
Just the challenges.
Okay, so we'll wait on that, but please don't let people tell you that your child is not going to be social. That's a lie. We know that they want to keep the money into the school and pay the teachers, and we want people that need that, that path to, to pursue it if that's what they want to do. But that wasn't my choice. And then secondly, it is something called unschooling. You feel weird that your child has finished his schoolwork at 11:30, and you're trying to figure out, well, what we do now? Well, what you do now is teach them stuff around the house that they should learn that they're not getting on Saturday and Sunday, because Sunday may be your church day. But I'll be quiet. Go ahead, Ms. Mary.
And then I'm going to segue that question to one of our questions already on there, Mary, for you, because you're new at this. And I love the way that Angie has constantly been saying that was her choice. And I definitely want people to understand we're not trying to force anything upon any parent. We're just saying there are some options for you. And because we've been in this pandemic, we know now that those options are there and you have experienced those particular options, which is homeschooling. So you can't say, well, I wouldn't know what it feels like to homeschool my child, because for the past 3 weeks you have had that experience. So now you know if you are doing the right things on how that child is learning. So let me ask you this, Mary. How do you structure your day? And it's one of the questions. Give me an example of your particular day. How do you structure it?
Well, I do want to piggyback on what Angie stated about unschooling, because it is very untraditional. One of the biggest things is when I was telling my son about us doing homeschooling, and I was, going over the pros and cons, and I also spoke to my husband about it as well. I had to make sure he was on board with it. The first thing he thought, and honestly, he thought, oh, wow, I can sleep in. I don't have to get up and do all this other stuff, which is, that is a plus. But the first week, it was a struggle because I am a planner by nature. So I had already planned out my curriculum, had everything situated. So I was excited about getting up that Monday morning, getting him up and saying, let's go, we're gonna do this and this and this. And he flat out told me, I'm tired. So when he did that, I had to, take a step back and say, okay. And I remember one of the conversations, many conversations that me and Angie had spoke about was, when you're a parent and you're a teacher, you have to put on different hats and you have to play different roles. And I had to put on my teacher mode hat and be a teacher. So I had to explain to him that you're in class now. This is how we're gonna do this. So once we got on that page and we started doing our regular routine, he got used to it. I got used to it, converted my garage into a classroom setting so that we won't do anything in the house because that's too comfortable. I picked that up, Angie, very soon. I quickly picked that up. So those were the challenges. And also about the socialization, that is absolutely a falsehood. They do get a chance to socialize. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, there have been some limits to certain things, but he will be able to be on a soccer team. He is really into church. So that is a big thing that we have in our home. I wanted him to have a Christian background and a socialization with that. So that is it's a huge plus. So the socialization is a lie. Just like Ed said, they can socialize. Please, parents, do not believe that hype.
Yes. Now, I know one of the articles that I did read, it stated that for homeschooling, the structure is definitely different. And sometimes it can be challenging for that child too, because although they're used to going from classroom to classroom and they're used to leaving out of a particular classroom and going to another classroom, that they may not understand the discipline of, like you said, Mary, going into the garage. Now I'm in class and I got to sit in this one place for so long, and I'm used to kind of getting up, going to lunch, and socializing with my friends. So with that being said, what are some tips that you can probably give some parents to be able to help overcome those particular barriers?
Yeah. And one of the things is that we don't stay in one place for, like, a traditional school will have 45 minutes or 30 minutes of planning time for social studies, math, or whatever. I produced my own curriculum, so we made it for us. With that being said, it's not something that I go off with Shelby County Schools has stated or somebody else has said. This is from his, as a parent, how I want his life to be. So I'm guiding his life to how I want it to be. In addition to that, I don't teach on a 7th grade level. Everything that I teach him is for 8th grade, because I have an option to push him into what I know he can do. I'm not limiting him to the classroom setting of being with other 30 students who may or may not be on the same level that he's at. I know where he is as far as his math, reading skills, language arts, and things like that. So that's a huge plus. You did ask me the question, how is a day, one of my days like? So we'll get up, he'll do the routine, make up the bed, wash his face, brush his teeth, things like that. I do get him to put on clothes, and so then we start our day. Now, we usually have 5 to 6 hours in a day, but that's not just classroom setting things. We do things like projects. You can take a chicken from a Kroger or whatever, a whole chicken, break the chicken. That's going to be considered to be science, because you're learning about the bones and the vertebrae. I mean, there's so many things. Teaching him how to cook. Angie has spoke about that. I love the cooking part. He actually made a cake Monday. It was an excellent double chocolate cake. I gave him the cake box, told him to do it from beginning to end. He could not get any help from me, so he had to learn where things were in the kitchen, how to use a measuring cup, things like that. The cake was absolutely wonderful. It's all gone now, but it's things like that that will make them understand, hey, I can do more than just what somebody tell me to do or expect me to do, and I just get this letter grade for it. And it also helps them as a parent for them to see that your child is learning something from you. Mm-hmm. It gives you some self-esteem as well. And I think that's something that has been missing, because it's like now I hear parents say, you know, I'm at home with my child all day. I don't know what to do with them. Mm-hmm. It's kind of scary that we don't know as a parent how to interact with our children when they're home with us. So that's one of the pluses for homeschooling as well.
So that great segue. Now let's go into what are some advantages that you have seen since you have homeschooled your child, Angie.
Oh my! So you know I'm on this one. So first of all, what I have the advantages. One, that your child sees you also not only as mom but as teacher and principal. Why are we dividing it up for other people? You know, we want them to, you know, love and honor people and respect them as well. But what about it being you first? You are the authoritative figure. So that's number one. Number two is it brought us closer. I was missing so much time with my child being away from me all day. And I'm picking him up. I'm tired. He's tired. And, you know, and then you go home, you're trying to cook, and then you go to sleep. There wasn't enough time for me. And again, like Mary said, your child begins to pick up other things. It's not just dictated to them that this is this, that is that. Your child begins to, okay, so if you see my background, you see fractions. So just like Miss Mary was saying, they broke down for science. So let's take cooking in a different way. You did cooking for science. Well, I did cooking today, making banana bread as teaching fractions. Well, I'm going to show you what 1/3 cup looks like. I'm going to show you what a cup look like. So it's 1/3 less than a cup, you know, that kind of thing. It definitely, his vocabulary is a little bit better. And why is his vocabulary better? His vocabulary is better because he's having not an adult conversation, but he's having to rise up to where I am to think about things.
Yes.
So those are the advantages. And then he's getting real life experiences. When we go up to the cash register, pay for that. So
Yes.
I just taught you how to count back. Do it in your head. So those are the advantages. If you don't chicken out after the second week, because in in a traditional school, it takes kids roughly 2 weeks to get adjusted to going back to school, waking up and going to sleep at a certain time. Your child gets acclimated to a new way of life, and that's being family. I can really say I am being mama now. So that was the advantage for me. I'm mama, you know. So I hope I haven't taken too much of that.
No. Mary, did you want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. The things that Angie has stated, and also the flexibility is a pure joy. Knowing that you can guide what is going on with your home, as opposed to somebody else taking 8 hours of your day, and hoping and praying that they're going to be safe in an environment that you can't go to, or can't really put your hands on your child. Here, I have the autonomy to do whatever I want to with my child. If I want to take him on a field trip that day, we're going on a field trip. And everything I do with him is a teachable moment. And it's not just within those 5 or 6 hours that I consider to be classroom time. It's whenever. So at 11 o'clock at night, if he decides to want to play a game or get on his Xbox or whatever, if I go in there and I ask him, hey, how many of those people against these people are such, everything is a teachable moment. You can use any and everything as a teachable moment. That's what I love about it. And you don't have to limit their mindset. So we're working on stocks, bonds, how and why it's important to have a garden. Children don't know about gardens. These children these days do not understand where our food really does come from. And with this pandemic, it is teaching us, even with adults, how important it is to get back to the basics. We used to have this thing called, I can't even think of the name of the company, but they used to teach home ec. That's what it is, home ec. And that was important when I was growing up in my high school. And they taught you basic skills that you needed to get by in life, not just for whatever else. And I understand the whole thing about the, reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also they need to know stuff that's going to keep them moving forward, like how to read the stock market, or what is a bond, how do you grow greens, and why it's important that, your milk comes from this cow instead of this. Things like that is important. And that's so important for me to know. I really didn't realize it. And I'm learning as well. As parents, we learn when we're homeschooling. We're learning some things that we forgot because we thought we were an adult and we didn't need to know anything else, but we're learning as well. And it's such a pleasure to learn stuff together. And we had those aha moments. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that. So that's just one of the other pluses.
Can I say something else?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Agriculture. No.
Yes.
No. My grandmother, again, we learned by watching. So every summer, spring, mid-spring, summer, we were outside doing the garden. So it dawned on me, there's a food shortage, as they say, may be about to happen. So the guy is outside building my raised garden because that is our science project for next week.
Yes.
So you get so much more. You're learning home ec, agriculture. I have friends that build computers that's teaching my child extra things. I know people offer these things at a really high rate, but you begin to build a community of people. Like I can ask Miss Mary, can Daniel come learn stocks and bonds over there? That's nothing I'm interested in, but hey, maybe it's something he may be interested in. But that is the pros of it all. That the children get a lot more instead of just thinking that they're going to go off to this big, great university. Maybe they will. We hope they will. But some of these kids can be millionaires based on learning how to farm and grow things,
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, with 5 minutes remaining, there are two questions that I actually have left. One of them is not on the questions that I sent you, but it's real simple. The one question I do have is, what barriers have your child faced since they now have been homeschooled? And that's for both of you ladies. Or have they faced any barriers?
Well, the biggest barrier that I think that we face, we're just, like I said, 3 weeks in, is just to getting used to the untraditional, being the traditional. It was an eye-opening experience, because you're just so, sometimes, just like Angie stated, you feel guilty for not, being in a traditional schooling for 8 hours, or you're not getting up at a certain time, or you're not doing things that you normally would do. But when you take that control back as a parent and you say, I have the right to teach my child what I think is best for my child. You know your child's strengths. You know it's going to push them in what they want to do. So allow them to flourish in that. And they will appreciate it more, because they're not doing something that, you're telling them you have to do C and D. And you can't even connect why A, B, and C and D is important to them in the long run. But with what I'm doing with him as a homeschooling, and you're doing your own curriculum, you can't connect it, because you're making it up for them. You both are, and you're teaching them what they want to learn. And a lot of times, a lot of stuff that you even say or do, and they're always watching you, be mindful of that. Mm-hmm. Everything is a teachable moment, and that's the beauty of it. And you can grade them on that as well.
Okay. Angie? Uh-oh. Angie, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Well, what barriers have you seen?
Woo. Well, you know what? I think at one point my child, at the beginning, I think he said he wanted to go to school. But I was like, you're not going to school. Mm-hmm. But you ask him today, oh, I'm not going to school, because I love homeschool. He loved just, I'm not calling it untraditional. We're just getting back to what they used to do, And that was the only barrier, but that was for a good 3-4 weeks. But we don't have that anymore. My son absolutely loves. He does what your baby does, Miss Mary. Gets up, brushes his teeth, takes his shower, makes their bed up before we do anything. Like I said, I can't think of any.
Well, it sounds like you ladies are both treating this as life skills for your child, which is good. And we know from students themselves, we hear a lot of students say, well, I'm not going to use this information when I graduate. So you guys are actually taking this part as an advantage and treating it as life skills lessons for them. So when they do get of age to be on their own, they can understand exactly what it is that they need to do without saying, well, I didn't learn that in school. They can truly say that they actually did learn this in school, and they learned it from homeschool itself. So what platforms are you guys using for your homeschooling? And then after you give us that information, with 1 minute remaining, what tips can you give to these parents now? And again, these are just options. We're not forcing anything on anyone. We're just saying there are some different options, and we just want to be able to present this particular resource for you, so you guys can know that this is there. This is some parents that have experienced it, and you can kind of know what to do. So what platform have you used? What platform are you using now for your homeschooling? And then what tips can you give to parents?
Well, for me, I know two of the biggest things is that you have to be self-disciplined and self-motivated for yourself as a teacher, as a parent, because if you're not, it's not going to do you any good to homeschool. It does take a lot of mental capacity to do this. You have to be focused, because the one time that you start showing them that, okay, we're going to slack off a little, as children, they will as well. So you have to be just as committed to it as your child is. You have to show them that you're motivated as well.
46 seconds left.
Sorry. Go ahead, Angie.
What platform are you using for homeschool?
Okay, so first of all, you want to check to see if your state, how it's regulated in your state. And you want to use a system such as Home Life Academy. Those are people that will keep all the grades for you that you have to report. Secondly, you want to choose a curriculum. Because I'm not getting paid or endorsing anybody's curriculum, choose a curriculum and that works best for you. Just go out, read the reviews, and go that route. The tips I will give you is for parents, be teachable. You're learning as well. You're learning how to really educate, even though you don't have that degree, and just stay focused, because if you stay focused, then your child will be focused and all life will be focused and everything will just go well with you.
All right, you guys did an amazing job, and I'm definitely going to include that link that you provided onto this video so parents can know this is where they need to go so they can again have options.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Home Life is offering free registration for next year in the event that you want to homeschool your child. So just so you know, homeschool registration will be waived for anybody that signs up for the 2020 school year, 2020-2021.
homelifeacademy.com.
Home Life Academy, please go like them on Facebook. And again, I'm not endorsing them, but we are enrolled through them, even though I live in a different state than I work. I won't say because I want people in my, you know, but there you go.
All right. So, I think that's all. You guys have gave some great tips for the parents. You have said some amazing words or encouraging words for the parents. And then even for the child himself, you've given them some insight on what the traditional, what is now should be the traditional, as Angie said, versus the untraditional. So I'm excited. My kids are grown. They out of school. I'm good. However, I do have, little cousins as well as other students, and I'm still a resource for other parents too. Yes. So I hope this video has definitely helped a lot of parents to make that decision for the 2020-21 school year, so they can really make a decision on which direction that they want to go for their child. So again, my name is LaShondra Robinson with UCAN of Memphis. I am the executive director, and we have some wonderful guests online, Angie Steele and Mary Dugan. Now, do you have any contact information that maybe some parents may want to reach out to you?
Yes, actually, I am on Facebook under Angie Steele. Sometimes I'm not present, but my email is Angie18ALD@gmail.com. Only if you have questions about homeschool will I respond.
Okay.
Yes. And I am not a social media person, but I do have Facebook, I think. But I also have an email. It's mecarter, CARTER36@yahoo.com. Just like Angie said, only if you have questions about homeschooling. I do endorse Home Life Academy. They have been awesome, especially if you're just starting out. They give you everything you need. Excellent place.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, again for your time, for spending time with us today. And I hope that this video helps a lot of other parents. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Again, thank you so much. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and
Twitter.
Yes, Twitter. And we will see you on next time. Make sure you follow us, UCAN of Memphis, UCAN of Memphis. Bye. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.